Hey, welcome back to Automated Trades. I just want to say thanks so much for coming by to check out the video. I initially had planned to do a video a day, and then I ended up out on two 16 to 18-hour workdays with about 3.5 to 4 hours of sleep in between, and simply did not have the time. But I still have been running 6 basically PineScript algos all throughout the time I've been working and gone, and sometimes just looked at the P&Ls. And this is just over a week of full testing that we are going to do an update on today. So this is video 3 in the series, where I'm documenting in real time my journey, building and testing my own algorithmic futures strategies, all coded in PineScript, running on TradingView, and then executed automatically through CrossTrade, right here, which is a very cool platform, and into NinjaTrader. So I know it's not very fun, but there's a lot that we've learned in this red. So don't tune out and get disappointed yet. So that's where we are. If you watch the first 2 videos, you know the dream, but let's reiterate it here. I want to get my first funded account payout using only my own algos. Ultimately, then, the goal is to grow that into enough to pay off my medical debt and family expenses of my first child, who is on the way. She is 21 weeks along, and look forward to meeting her in April. So I have, currently, it's at the time of recording now, it's December 2025, so I got about 4 months to figure it out. So, okay, first week of actually forward testing all these algos. This was a really big reality check. On paper, my strategy on TradingView reported over $12,000 on this particular algo in profit over the last week. But when we pull up the NinjaTrader accounts, as you can see here, red, there's one that's positive. There, net profit, $1,787, which still doesn't even match the P&L here. So right off the bat, we're obviously not even, it's not even like we're not aligned. This is my back testing and my vision and my execution is straight up not yet connected the way I want it to be. So the ones that were executing these signals in real time, most of the time were down around $1,000. One of them was slightly up, but it's just a sea of red, as you can see here. I'm going to try to zoom in a little. Maybe I can learn how to do some editing and make this easier for you to see. I was hoping that at least half of these accounts would be net, green, but unfortunately that did not turn out to be the case. So this video is me being completely transparent with you of what I expected, which is this, what actually happened, the specific technical reasons the backtest and the real-time P&L do not match whatsoever, what I've already fixed, and the new plan going forward. My goal here is to be as thorough and as honest as possible and explain every piece of this as I'm learning it, not just show you the highlight reel and, take trades on replay data so it looks like I know what I'm doing. Because the truth is I don't. Well, I have an idea, but I'm trying to figure out how to make it work. You know what I mean? So let me recap the architecture, because the understanding of sort of the plumbing is critical to understanding why this is not yet working. But the fact that I have this answer is really encouraging already. So everything starts on TradingView. That's where my strategy is. In this case, it's like a harmonic Fibonacci. This was actually a pre-existing one. It's one of the very first ones before I started making my own that I just sort of customized. So this one tracks Fibonacci levels, some displacement, whatever. And I named them silly, funny things, like Ziv or Dulcimer. I have the Dulcimer hanging in my house. Point is, TradingView, then lets you backtest these in the form of a strategy. If you're unfamiliar, you can set in here your strategy time frame and parameters and various things. Now, this strategy is different than an indicator. I'm not doing a tutorial on that right now. If you want me to do one of those later, just tag me and I'll do that for you as concisely as I can. Yeah, so this is the zigzag PA strategy. So this isn't even one of my own, but I really like how it. Oh, for crying in the night! I really like how it performs. So let's just stick with this as an example, because I don't want to stop recording and go all the way back to the beginning. We'll do one of these other ones As you can see, I have a number of them running. But the point is, so it all starts here, and in the strategy function, you can go in here and set inputs and property values, assuming I want to trade a 50K account, one NQ contract on a 50K, presumably a 50K, prop account, sorry. And then I'm just running way up on the commission, to be very fair about that. This should have at least one slippage and a verify for price action as well. I just like to be overly conservative, and then it recalculates after the order is filled and on every tick. So then what we can do is see here, for example, well, not even necessarily an example for the sake of the video, but an example in real trading. So this strategy with all those settings, entered a buy right here and sold it there. I'm not even sitting at the laptop with the trade panel open, right? That's just doing it automatically. What I'm using is PineScript to trigger an alert to send a payload of code that this particular platform understands. So you can go down here to TradingView commands, okay, and send those to NinjaTrader to auto enter either long or short and exit, okay? So the dream here, it should be as simple as, if we look at where it entered here, and then it will sell there, that's a pretty damn nice trade. And if you look, so this is December 8th, this is today, it entered the trade at what time is that, 4:40 something? If we go back to the list of trades, okay, I'm a little off here, but you can see it's 3 o'clock it entered and had a $1,400 profit. Okay, there's the buy at 3:02, and there's the sell at 4 o'clock today, December 8th, 2025 for $1,490 total profit on the trade. So we can zoom in here a little more, and you can basically see where we entered there, buy, and then that sell is that purple arrow. See that right there? So then what this should be doing is sending out a command in an alert with a certain message and information to CrossTrade, which flips that and auto executes on NinjaTrader. So that's where we are. So in NinjaTrader, I've got multiple SIM accounts. SIM account 1, 2, all the way up through 9, a personal SIM account, and the idea is to forward test across several accounts, several time frames, the way I'd eventually forward test across, ideally, multiple prop firm accounts. So here's the first problem. Up until this week, I was using, in here, TradingView fully synchronized strategy. You can read about it here, but it is trying to keep NinjaTrader and TradingView completely in line. Now, there's probably a right way to do this, and I would bet money that I'm just doing it wrong, and I don't have the parameters set right. Because if you look here, you can see that I'm having, obviously, highly unideal results. If I really took, some of my own capital and tried to run this, it would be a disaster, right? I would be burning money. Take a $100 bill outside, light it with a match. That's the equivalent of what running this strategy on my money would be. So in theory, whatever the TradingView strategy does with this fully synchronized TradingView strategy, it will mirror that exactly in NinjaTrader. Sounds like what I want, right? Okay, well, clearly, look at this. For a week, I backtested 12,000 in P&L, and I netted a sea of red. It's the dang Red Sea here, okay? So obviously this isn't working. Let's just go back to that harmonic, the zigzag. I don't know who published this, but it is a fabulous strategy. So anyway, it's about 12,000. That's a 92% win rate, 144% profit. Just to give you an example, the way I have it set up, we'll go back to a full year's worth of data on the 2-minute chart, and you can see that the max equity drawdown is very minimal for 400K in profit. Now this is the wormhole of backtesting. You don't want to get stuck doing backtesting forever and ever. Some problems, some things would come up as problems if you were trading this on a prop firm. Like your largest winning trade is 7,000. that's going to be problematic because certain prop firms require your win rate, or excuse me, your largest profit to be only a certain, percentage of all trades, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm talking about. And then in largest losing trades, it was only 23.45, so you wouldn't have broken the most 50K trailing drawdowns there. So really, if I can get this to perform on NinjaTrader, we've got something really special here, and I'll share it. I'm not going to try to sell it and do a course. I'm posting this, man, and we're all going to just rip here. The big question is, how can the same strategy over the same dates on the same instrument be plus 12K in TradingView but negative 1K in Ninja? It's not just like, oh, slippage is a little bit worse, or, oh, some of those didn't get filled. The first major issue I identified was the sync logic itself. Now, in my strategies, especially this one, the strategies are pretty complex, but they can open and close multiple trades inside the same bar. And they flip from long to short on pattern completion. Now, they use limit and stop exits, not just simple market close at bar end exits. They sometimes repaint visually as well, which is obviously a problem. So TradingView's strategy engine catches all that for the backtest because it's looking at the historical data and applying, in this case, my Pine script or someone's Pine script, whoever wrote this one, consistently over each bar. But when you get to real-time alerting, there's a huge difference because alerts typically fire once per bar or on bar close. And so what I found is unless your Pine script or your code is written to run on every tick, and you set the alert up in a very specific way, you'll have this massive, disparate result pool like we have here. So CrossTrade sync_strategy mode expects clean entries and exits. Strategy is flat, strategy is long, strategy is short. It's not designed to follow every little flip and nuance mid-bar. And this is what we saw in practice doing this. Like TradingView shows a trade opening and closing for a profit. I mean, look at this. So obviously this is hyper inflated. This is very idealistic. And the alert would make it over to NinjaTrader just fine. But the other problem I found was that sometimes the exit would never fire or would fire in such a way that CrossTrade, didn't interpret it as a close. And sometimes it just got missed. So the one account that's positive here, 1,787, is exactly this case. The strategy opened along and it went really long at a great profit, but it was only because I happened to log in for funsies and saw 1787, and then I saw here in in TradingView, just like what we see here, that this one was stopped because it triggered too often. That's too many intra-bar, ding, 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 ding. It's firing those off a whole bunch of times. And then it shuts it down because you're basically spamming the living bananas out of CrossTrade. So we can't have that. So I manually, with my mouse, clicking on this little MacBook Air, close that for the profit. So this is completely the opposite result of what I wanted. I had to manually close the trade to have a profit on these sim accounts. The next piece of the puzzle is how TradingView backtest fills versus how real markets actually fill orders. So in the backtest, there's basically no slippage unless you explicitly tell it, which I've done. Which I have done in here, and if we go back in, you can see this. I put in slippage. Oh, I was confused about commission. I'm just going to go 5 on the slippage. And so that takes us to 414 for a month. Let's go back 7 days. There we go. It just triggered something right there. Yeah, see, it opened and closed very quickly. We don't even have any open P&L. Anyway, so back here, all right, so before I put in the 5 slippage, it was 12K. Now we're down to 11,630. If you're able to copy trade or rotate through accounts or use a strategy with numerous prop accounts, live accounts, sim accounts, and your own money, 11K in 1 week multiplied by numerous prop accounts is absolutely jaw-droppingly phenomenal. So I don't even care that it's 1,000 less because it's insane, right? Like where this is printing to buy and sell, if you sat here all day, which I've done, clicked buy and click sell, it works. It's totally profitable. You get payouts doing that. I don't want to sit here all day. That's the goal of this, right? So the point I'm getting at is NQ moves quickly. During those fast moves, especially news days and whatever, if the backtest assumes a long at 25,700, we take profit at 25,720 for a 20 point and a stop at 2690. Every one of those fills is mathematically perfect in this backtest because it's simulating app. But with some delay, some latency, maybe the internet's a little bit low, maybe there's a lag in Ninja, maybe there's not a fill available in the market, whatever, everything's very different. I personally, now get at me in the comments if you think I'm dead wrong here, please. We have to figure out how to do this. That's all welcome, but I really can't believe that every single trade is so out of sync from executing here to NinjaTrader that it results in a net loss, especially because in the alert history, right? Here's a closed position, 26 milliseconds to handoff, 32 milliseconds to handoff, 20 milliseconds to handoff, 28 milliseconds. Those are milliseconds. So I don't know, maybe that many milliseconds is enough to completely render this hopeless. If you're a pro algo trader, give it to me straight. Maybe it is, but I don't think so. Let's say like we're on a 2-minute chart, okay? A lot can happen inside 2 minutes. A pattern may complete 30 seconds into the candle, but the actual TradingView alert might not fire till the bar closes and a half later. So then you get a really crummy entry. So that's kind of the B side of this beyond the sync strategy in CrossTrade is even if you're getting a poor or a crummy entry, this was still set to, what's going on here? This particular trade was still set to close here. So even if the strategy opened a bar later, this is where I go, aha, this is my aha moment. Why wouldn't I just run an ATM strategy in Ninja? Okay, why don't I just let this Pine script just enter a trade, either long or short, using in TradingView ATM strategy instead of the full sync strategy, okay? And then let Ninja come on in here and say, all right, I'm going to take profit at X points, 20 points, and I'm going to stop loss at 30 or 40 or whatever. You figure out your risk reward, what works for your strategy, blah, 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 blah. But then we're not waiting on this. Like you just saw it a minute ago, go ding dong, ding dong. It opened and closed a trade in a matter of like a second and a half. That's going to get you screwed up on prop firms anyway. Well, you have to be trading it. And many of them prevent algo trading. So I'm not trying to like scam the prop firms, but I'm saying if you're going to use this as a tool for scaling, you can't use it. Like, it's not going to work that way anyway. Clearly, it's not. Look at it's red. Okay, so moving on. All right, so my fifth discovery, I don't know if I've been clear on how many of those there are, but it's kind of a broad way to say that. There are some smaller, I'll put it this way, there were some other smaller but still highly important technical issues that I've caught along the way so far. So the first was at one point, the alert payload was using instrument NQ1, but NinjaTrader wanted to see NQ12-25. So I was getting all these rejected or mismatched orders. And if someone from CrossTrade's on here, maybe I'm right or wrong here, let me know. But I'm pretty convinced that was a big area of issue for me. Individually, all these little things seem small, but to go through and, correct each one, adjust each of the 6 accounts, it's quite a bit. So the new plan is entry only from TradingView, exits completely ATM. So for now, for the next week, I'm done using sync strategy equals true for these complex strategies. When the Pine strategy sees the setup it likes, it'll fire a webhook that basically says buy 1 NQ or close 1 NQ. That's it, okay? I'm not going to try to mirror the exits and everything else. CrossTrade is just like, like it does very well, is just to pass that order straight through to NinjaTrader. So we're using the strategy entry with ATM. Style payload is what they call it here, where we specify the instrument, the account, contract size, the name of the ATM template. And then NinjaTrader now owns all the exit logic. This will help me dial in if the entries are good enough to generate even small but consistent profits over time in the long term. So where does this leave me after this week? Honestly, I'm really grateful for all that's happened, because this could have been a really expensive lesson had I jumped ahead and put this right on, evals or on a PA account. As any trader knows, the most important thing you can learn is risk management. And so the ultimate biggest challenge you can have with algo trading is managing risk while you're not there. So you have to have this defined in a very hard, fast way. So both sides have to be engineered and revised, obviously. I really believe in the core logic of all these different strategies. The backtests are not useless, I don't think. They're optimistic by default. Anyone who's done the backtesting knows that. So now that I've seen where and why they've broken in implementation and forward testing, I'm going to tighten up the code, clean things up. I'm also going to start renaming these so we can keep clear track together of what strategy I'm using that I've built, what account it's trading, so we'll make that a little more clean for everyone to look at. In closing, the end goal has not changed. I want to get that first funded payout using an algo. I want it to be my algo. If it's one that someone else published on TradingView, hell yeah, we're going to give you credit. I'll explain if there's any adjustments that I made, and we will figure this out together as a little algo team community here. So super thanks to those of you who followed. I'm blown away that I've already connected with folks online who are trying to do the same thing. It's really, really cool to be talking with you guys. So thank you. If you've stuck with me through this rambling episode, thank you. I appreciate you just taking the video for what it is, given that I'm not taking the time to, learn how to produce YouTube. I just want to document the process and have conversation with fellow enthusiasts of this trade in this art form. So if you're interested in how the changes impact performance over the next few weeks, stick around. I guess now I could say give this video a like, please, and subscribe. That'd be great. My last goal was to get 1 subscriber, and I've got 4 at the time of recording, so this is really cool. So thanks so much. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.